Hello and welcome to the session. So in this video, we're going to do a super simple animation which is perfect for beginners because there isn't a lot of drawing. So come on, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go into my main page and click on Create New. I'll go into Digital and click on Current Screen Size. So I don't have a sketch for this, but you don't really need a sketch. So I'll show you the process of how I animate things by using this simple animation. So first I go to my picks and brushes and go into sketching and I use a pencil. You can use anything that you want and I sketch out my animation process. So in the first frame, I just want to draw some leaves, and in the first frame, the leaves are going to be super close to each other. That is going to be like that, and make sure you draw them really big for now. And this is the first leaf, and I want one more layer for the second leaf in this frame. That is going to be something like this. I want them to be of same height and a bit of different thickness and different variety. You can draw any kind of leaf that you want, completely okay. You can add some more leaves here if you want, but make sure you add them to a separate layer by clicking on this plus sign. And you can undo with your 2 finger taps like that. So I'm going to add one more leaf here. And now after this, I want to add the next screen, like what happens after this screen, right? I'm going to click on this icon here, the motion icon or for the animation. And once you have it, now we'll go into the layer with the first leaf that we created, that is this one. Now in our next frame, we want the leaves to move a little bit. We want the leaf to move in the opposite direction like this. So I'll just click and duplicate frame, click on transform, and it says frames or all frames, and make sure you select only that frame and transform. First, let's rotate it a little bit like that, and make sure this comes and joins to the same place that it was already there. Like these 2 points, they kind of need to match to the original one. I know sometimes you can't match it, but that's okay. Try to match it a little bit at least. And you can also use skew and distort. So when you do that, you can just make it a bit bigger like that, or make it move it a bit like this. After you're done, click on done. Continue, and then you can make one more, duplicate frame, and now we're going to move this further down. So click on that, transform, and now here I'll say skew again, and I'll move this down and this again like that, and I want it to be a little down and like this. Make sure you move it all the way down, and you can also put distort, and we want the leaf to go a little bit. You can adjust it however you want, by the way, it doesn't matter. And we're going to repeat this process when we are doing the coloring part as well. Once you're done, click on done and continue. Now let's concentrate on the second leaf. So we'll go here and it's in the level 1. So click, okay, when you click on this, this comes back to the first frame. That's what the first frame is. Click and duplicate frame. Now again, transform, and you'll rotate it a little bit and bring it back so that these ends match. And I don't want it to skew or distort or anything. I'm just going to keep it at that. And then you can do click and done, and then again click and duplicate frame, and now again this transform. You can again transform this a little bit down if you want to, or you can actually skew. So I'm going to hide this extra layer leaf, we don't need it. So now when I play all, oh, it's too fast, so we're going to go into settings and make it into 3. You can also click here and write 3, and that's pretty easy. Once you're done, now we can play, and you can see that the leaves are moving to the side, and you want that. And if you want, you can create dents and stuff, which we can do it much later as well. So now the time to add the Godzilla or dragon or the dinosaur or whatever you want to call it, or the monster. So we'll go back, and I want to go behind all these layers. It doesn't matter in the sketching stage, to be honest. So click on plus. So initially when this is here, there's no monster, you can't see it. Click on plus, and now you see a small head bump coming up like this, and maybe a little eye like this. And now we'll click on plus again, and for this one he's going to be up much bigger, and he's gonna have a nice little hand like that, and obviously he has an eye here, this one, and I want one more frame, so I'm going to click one, and obviously the leaves come like that, don't worry about it. So I'm going to go back and draw on this one but this time I'm going to make him open his mouth and do it like this. And obviously his hand I'm going to draw again, but similar, and then here like that, again like that. So when he goes to the fourth one, the leaves have come back, so we have to fix that, right? One thing you need to know when you're animating in Fresco is that the number of frames should be similar for all the layers. So it does not matter if one has 4, the other one should have either 4, 8, 12, 16, the multiples of 4. So it should be multiples of 2, things like that. You can't have an odd frame because then it's going to get stuck over there. It's not going to loop perfectly as well. So I'm going to go into the leaf session thing here, go back, and I'm just going to duplicate that frame again. I'll do the same thing for the other leaf and duplicate it again. And now we're going to see how it plays. Okay, I forgot to draw monster eye for the last one, like that. So let's see that. Okay, that's good. Obviously our last monster has a lot of teeth, and then he goes boo. Okay, so our basic animation or sketching part is ready, and now it's time to move on to the coloring part. So let's do that. So once your sketching is ready, we'll use it as a base for our drawing. So it's really important that you go here into your levels and reduce the layer opacity, bring it down a little so that you can draw on it. Especially the monster is very dark. I drew it really dark. All right. And now what we're going to do, one more thing, is go back and select onion skin off. Because since we have already finished drawing each frame for the animation, we don't really need the onion skin anymore. If you want it, you can always go back and get it. It's still there. So now it's time to color these things, and there are different ways in which you can do that. You can go to each layer and color them individually, but it is time consuming. So we are lazy, so we're going to use a little easier approach. I'm going to go all the way to the first frame. So this brings us to the first frame of all the layers. So now I'm going to use my lasso tool. So go ahead and click on this lasso. I'm going to draw my leaf with a little bit of dents in like that. So my leaf looks a little different than the other leaf that we have. Close it. So I'll go into my colors, and you want some green. So you're just going to go ahead and bring this. The inner circle tells you how bright, dark your green is going to be. So you're going to keep it almost here, I guess. And this one tells you what color you want that to be, like, yellows, blues. So I'm just going to keep it almost till here. And I'm going to use a little bit of lighter green. So once you have your color selected, make sure you're on a separate layer and not on the sketch layer. I'll go here and select dry media, and I like my hot pastel. And I will go ahead and obviously increase your size. You can do like this or click and hold and you'll get number. You can change that. I'm just going to increase my size. Everything else is default. I haven't changed it. And I'm going to go ahead and color the part like that. And next I'll make this a bit darker, pretty dark actually. And I'm going to color the other half, and I'll come back and make sure this is half like this. And now I want some lines on it, so I'll go ahead and use rough pencil and maybe make this whitish plus, and make sure you have a clipping mask. So one thing you should know when you're using animation, if you want to use clipping mask, you have to do it now. You can't like make an animation and then try to add a clipping mask. It will not work. So first do your artwork with clipping mask and everything, and then you can use the same thing on different frames. Now with the clipping mask, we can make sure this is at 16, and I think it should be okay. I'm sorry, where am I? Oh, on the sketching layer, I'm undoing that. I'll go back here onto my clipping mask, do this, and I'm going to go ahead and add some lines to this. You have it ready. Now once you have all your leaf ready, and if you think you're done with everything, if you want to add more elements to this, do it now. Once you're done, click on deselect and you have your leaf ready. So now click and we will say merge down, and now we have the leaf ready. Now let's go ahead and click and duplicate frame. We'll use the transform tool, transform, and we're going to make sure we match this to this one here. So turn it around a little bit, come back down here and match them. Okay, it's almost matching, but still you can skew it so that you can make it a little bit like that. So it looks like the leaf has been pushed a little bit, okay? And then click on done. Now we're gonna click and duplicate frame. Now we can match it to over there, transform. And I remember we use skew. And then we are going to go ahead and, oh, why are you being like that? There you go. And then you can also use distort, by the way. I think we use that. Try to match it to your sketch as much as possible because you have already tested it with that. And click on done. If you play all, you should see that the leaf goes away. Pause it and don't forget to add a duplicate frame in the end to match the final frame. Now it's time to make the second leaf. Now you can uncheck the sketch for the first one. Now let's go to the second leaf and I'm going to press plus to make sure I go into a different layer. And now we'll use the same technique. We'll go into color. I want something bright yellow for this. So I'm going to go here all the way up, go to your brushes and go to hot pastel. And now let's go ahead and do the same thing for this. And I think I'm going to go ahead and color a bit like this as well. Then bring it down to make it a slightly orange and add a bit here and there. Of course, I want to make things with this like this. Now I'll click on plus and make a clipping mask. Now I'll go back to my rough pencil. I'm going to add a line, but obviously you can't see it. So I'll go here and I'll click on multiply so that it becomes a bit darker. Here, multiply, that's a blend mode. And I'm going to add lines like this. Just make sure when you're making these patterns on your leaf, you take into consideration of the fact that you're going to distort your leaf. So if you have some complicated designs on it, it might look odd when you try to move it around. So be careful. So I think I love my leaf as it is. We're going to keep this simple over here. Once you're done, you can deselect and click and merge down to make it into one layer. And now we're going to click and duplicate frame and again transform just the frame, and we'll try to rotate it a little bit like we did earlier, and we are going to try and match. When you're doing that, make sure there's no gap over here and you bring it all the way down to make it seem seamless, and click on done. We are doing it again, duplicate frame, transform. We're going to use the skew a little bit, distort. So after this, click and duplicate frame for that extra frame. Now that's done too, so I'm going to hide that sketch layer as well. And now it's time to make the monster. You want your monster to be behind the leaves, so go back below and click plus. So the first frame has nothing. We know that from our sketch. So I'm going to keep it empty and you can click on plus to go to the next one. In here, we see a little head peeping. I want to color it now. So I'm going to go to my tool here and I'll make it round and I'll just make it like this, and I'll choose a nice blue color for my monster. Go back to your hot pastel. You can use any brush that you want over here. Please feel free to use whatever you want, and I'm going to mark it like this. I think there was an eye here. I'll just bring this up. You can click and hold and it'll just come right up and you can see that there's an eye. And if you want, we'll do an eye on a separate layer. So let's just concentrate on coloring this guy now, okay? And then I'm going back into the color layer, next plus, and there's a guy here. So we're going to do that. And I think the head was a bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bigger. Cancel lasso, we forgot to deselect. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and make this, and I want to, like I told you, I want to make this a little bigger because I felt like this one is a little too tiny for that. Go back to the pastel and I'm going to color this guy, and I want to give a lighter tone over here, so I'm going to just move him here like that, and just make him a little lighter so that he looks good. And I see there are arms peeping out, but again, we'll do it in a different layer. The whole idea about doing it in different layer is so that you have more control when you want to change things. If you would add arms now and later you want to change color, it gets a little bit tricky where you have to erase things and stuff. But if you have it on a completely separate layer, you can just hide that layer and create it again. And that makes your life so much easy. And yeah, that's the goal with digital art, isn't it? Having a much better and easier life with the undo button. Anyway, So once this is done, final one here, and see here, deselect, I forgot that again. And I want this guy to be same as the next one. So what I'm going to do here is click on onion skin. The reason I'm doing here is because my sketch is a little smaller. So we're going to make sure that our final one matches this one, right? Use your lasso tool and go back here. It'll be same. But in here, make sure you make a slit for the mouth and then go down and do this. And again, you have the light blue. So we're just going to use the light blue here to the neck and a bit up here towards the nose. And then we'll use the dark blue. You can go into your colors, and under recents, you'll see all your colors. And you can just color it off. You can deselect, and now we'll play all, and you can see the monsters coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and click on new layer now, and now we're going to add the arms, the eyes, and other bits. Let's add the eyes first. So plus, because the first layer is empty, right? And I see eyes popping there. I'll use white, and you can use your lasso tool for this as well. Make a round, use this and color it up. And plus, deselect, go back again. Plus, now you can deselect, the lasso is gone. I want to turn off the onion skin here. Okay, so now it's time to add the arms, but I want to bring the monster sketch up. So click and hold until it highlights and bring it all the way up. The arms in the final frame are actually on top of the leaves, and we want to make sure that we show that, okay? So now I'll click plus, and now I'm going to draw arms. The first one, no. Second one also doesn't have any. Third one has some arms, so we're going to use the lasso tool again and go to your brush. So we're going to go ahead and use the blue, and I'm going to pull it down a little bit so that it's darker and color it off. Now we'll deselect and plus, it's the same one, so you can actually go back and duplicate frame, and I'm going to delete this extra frame off. You can click and delete the frame. Now we have to draw all the teeth and stuff on the monster, so go back here and plus. So for a new layer, there's no monster. Here there's monster, and there's nothing much except, let's choose red now because I want red. Go here and make it all the way up, and I will use the rough pencil, and I'm going to draw this, and I'll make sure I bring it down. Plus again, now it's really up. Now you can draw more of these. One more when he's like this. So now I want this to show up. So I'll go back here and click on onion skin. Now when I go to this new layer, I can see where I drew it. I'm going to change it up a little bit, but I still want to make sure that these scales or whatever these are right around that area, like, you know, not much of a difference, right? Otherwise it'll look weird, like if it had scales at one side and suddenly they're shifted to another place. So we're going to make sure that, so I'm just going to finish it up like that. That's great. And now it's time to add the eye. So I'm going to go into the layer which has the white part of it and plus, so that I am in a separate layer. Now I click on plus and I see that, so I'll go into black here and go back into rough pencil. That's better. And then I'm going to give the eyeball here, and then you can say plus. If you play, you should be able to see them go away like that. We have to draw the monster teeth as well, and there are two options for the teeth. You can make it red, that looks good, or you can make it white. If you want to make it white, you have to make sure that the background is a completely different color than white, because otherwise it won't show up, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hide the sketch layer for the monster like that, and I'll go all the way down and create a new layer. And in this layer, I'm going to go into fill tool, and you can give any color. I think I'll choose the blue and then try to make it a bit darker, and I'll fill it up. Let's just see how it looks like, right? So what we're going to do now is go on another separate layer like that, and then we'll choose white. And my brush is again at rough pencil. Keep the size as much as you want. Now let's plus, 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 and we're going to draw some teeth. The sharper you draw his teeth, the more ferocious he will look. And try to draw the bottom teeth in between these two. There you go. That's done. And obviously in the previous frame here, he has a mouth, but you can't see it. So I want to draw a mouth for that layer. So I'm going to go above this layer where the monster is. plus, plus, plus. Here's the one, and I'll use the white itself. And now let's play all, and you can see he suddenly becomes If you want, you can retain the last slide or the last bit. Okay, I have to press one more here, 4. I forgot about that. Okay, that'll be a blank one. So now I want this last screen to be there for a little bit more time. So to do that, you have to add one more of that. So I'll go back all the way down, whichever has this symbol here, we need to make sure and we make it into a 5-frame thing. The last one, that is 4th frame, we're going to click and duplicate frame. So we'll do the same thing to the next one here. Go back, click and duplicate. Going to do for everything that has the animation bit to it. Let's play all. And now if you want to add a boo or something, you can also do that. So go all the way to the top, plus, and you want this to be in the last frame. So first frame empty, plus, empty, plus, empty, plus. And the 5th frame, we're going to go ahead and use red or white or whatever color you want and choose whatever brush you want. Again, I'll use the rough pencil and I will write boo. You could also use text, by the way, and write this off. I think a handwritten thing will look much better. Okay, there you go. Let me remove that so that you can see it and do this, and now play. Your simple animation is ready. You can add more stuff to it because I think my background needs a little bit more effect. So I'm going to go all the way here and plus, and I'll choose that exact same blue. No, I think it was this blue. And I'll go here and click on screen because why not? Let's make it blend mode screen. I think I'm going to go into painting and there's something called a surat. And this one is at 5000 because when I do that, you see here, creates this nice effect. So I'll just reduce this opacity. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of thing happening here. And I'll also click on plus. Now I'll go into maybe comics. I'm going to choose some half tones, probably this one, a bit bigger, and add a bit of half tones here and there. I should be in the bottom. So click and hold, and you can use this finger to move all the way up and here. Okay, and even the surat, I'm going to click and hold, or whatever that brush was, and bring it all the way down here. So the half tone thing, I want to make this into, let's see if we can make it overlay and it will show up. Yeah, it shows up. That's good. Make it a bit lighter or darker, however you want, by the way, it doesn't matter. And then you can add a bit here and there to make it look a little nicer. And then let's do this and let's play all. Maybe let's make the boo a little bigger, right? Let's go to the final one. I'll go into ink, Belgian comics, one of my favorites. Let's choose the red and let's do boo. So now I'm going to show you how to add some extra bits to this. So you could add rain, snow, you can add flies, everything in a similar way. So in this, I'm going to add a tiny little fly. Go into my dry media and rough pencil. So I'm going to choose a little lighter color. So I'm going to choose slightly bluish color to match the background. And after that, I will go ahead and draw a fly over here. So I'm going to draw the fly in this direction. You can choose as tiny as you want. And there's a particular reason for that, but you have to draw it in this direction and not, like this. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on this path. And then I'm going to make a swirly whirly path over here like that. And once you do that, you get this. Make sure you click on align to path. And after that, you can add a bit of multiples, not too many, slightly. And this one will make it go faster or slower. If you put it like this, it's faster. This is slower. You can also scatter it a little bit so that it goes everywhere and not just on the path. So let's add a bit more, I guess. And then that's it. So you can go to any other layer now. And now you play all and you see that there are some flies flying around everywhere. So finally, let's watch the video that we did. And there you go, and play all, and there you go, you have a lot of flies, and then your monster comes out and says boo. So that's it. So once you are ready, you can click on share, publish and export, you can click on motion and export it as MP4 by clicking on generate frames. You can also view your entire process by clicking on share, publish and export again, and then time lapse export, and you can export it. You can look at the time lapse. Wait a minute. You can also view the time lapse here. That's easy as well. So I hope you like this wonderful animation. You can add so many things like adding snow where it falls down. You can create little dots, white dots, and have the parts move down, create multiples, add a bit of scattering, and then it will look very nice. You can also add sway and other things, experiment a little, and have fun with Adobe Fresco. That's it. That brings us to the end of this tutorial, and I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you create something using one of my tutorials, please share it with me on Instagram at printmesomecolor. If you want to support this channel, you can always support me by buying me a coffee at ko-fi.com. The link to do that is in the description box below. Okay, I'll see you in the next video then. Bye-bye.